So there are several receptors for the epinephrine norepinephrine system. That is, you have alpha 1 receptor, alpha 2 receptor, beta receptor. All are G protein coupled receptors. They are known as adrenergic receptors. Okay, so the alpha 1 receptor activates the phospholipase C system, which converts phosphatidyl inositol diphosphate into inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. And inositol triphosphate increases intracellular calcium concentrations, leading to the cause of smooth muscle contraction. And the second type of receptor, that is the alpha 2 adrenergic receptors, activate two different or inhibit two different systems, where one is it's an inhibitory G protein coupled receptor. It inhibits the adenine cyclase so that the cyclic AMP is not produced, and there is no smooth muscle contraction that happens. And second case, again, it does not allow the calcium concentration to increase, so there is inhibition of transmitter release. And the third set of receptor is called the beta adrenergic receptors. And the beta adrenergic receptors activate adenine cyclase, converts ATP to cyclic AMP. Cyclic AMP causes heart muscle contraction, smooth muscle relaxation, and glycogenolysis. So this is the mechanism of action of the different receptors. So consider the beta receptor or the beta adrenergic receptor, and it activates the adenine cyclase, producing higher concentrations of cyclic AMP. And the cyclic AMP has two different functions. One is it causes a calcium channel activation, so that there is an increase in the cytosolic calcium concentration. As a result, actin myosin troponin interaction happens, and there is positive inotropy. Whereas in the second system, the cyclic AMP concentration activates cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase, which increases phosphorylation of the compound or the protein phospholamban, and this causes augmented or increased calcium uptake by the sarcoplasmic reticulum, finally causing vasodilation. The calcium channel activation also causes positive chronotropy. So this is the comparison with alpha receptor, where the alpha receptor activates phospholipase C, activating protein kinase C and intracellular calcium concentrations, also activating calmodulin dependent protein kinase, resulting in vasoconstriction. Whereas the beta receptor at the same time causes positive chronotropic and inotropic effects, positive lusitropic effects, and also vasodilation. So in this figure, you can see that norepinephrine has a higher affinity than epinephrine, which has a more higher affinity than isoproterenol or clonidine, which acts on the alpha 2 receptor. And the alpha 2 receptor is it's a G protein coupled receptor, which inhibits the adenine cyclase. As a result, cyclic AMP is not formed, and the protein kinase A is not activated. So there is a difference in its action. So presynaptic is it causes reduction of release and synthesis of norepinephrine. Central effect is it causes a decreased sympathetic outflow. So this is a direct comparison between the two types of receptors. You have alpha receptors and beta receptors. Alpha, again, it is alpha 1 and alpha 2 receptors. Alpha 1 receptors are usually found in postsynaptic systems or neurons, whereas alpha 2 receptors are found in presynaptic neurons. Beta receptors, you have beta 1 postsynaptic neuron receptor. Beta 2 is the also a postsynaptic neuron receptor, of which both beta 1 and beta 2 are GS protein coupled proteins which activate adenine cyclase. So in the case of beta 1, the effect is on the heart and the juxtaglomerular cells, and the stomach, right? So considering the heart, there is an increase in the heart rate, that is positive chronotropic system, increase in impulse conduction, positive dromotropic system, and increased contraction, that is positive inotropic system. There is also increased ejection fraction. So all of these will cause an increase in the heart rate. And then you have increased release of renin by the juxtaglomerular cells, and there is an increase in hunger which is caused due to release of ghrelin from the stomach. Whereas in the beta 2 receptors, you have smooth muscle relaxation of the your lungs, that is the bronchus and the bronchioles, and also the detrusor muscle and the uterine muscles. So there is a contraction of the urethral sphincter, increased renin release, that is common, increase glucose metabolism where insulin release is inhibited, and gluconeogenesis and glycolysis is stimulated. Also lipolysis is also stimulated, and together with that you have thickened salivary secretion. So what is common in both the cases is increase in release of renin. So considering alpha 2 receptors, it also inhibits insulin release. Some parts are common with beta 2 receptors, stimulates glucagon release, also causes contraction of anal sphincter, and inhibits the release of norepinephrine. Alpha 1 receptors cause vasoconstriction of blood vessels in skin, gastrointestinal tract, kidney, brain, contraction of smooth muscles in the ureter, vas deferens, urethral sphincter, uterus, ciliary body, etc. And also increases glucose metabolism through gluconeogenesis and glycolysis. So some of the functions are common across the receptors, whereas some of the functions are unique for each receptor. So epinephrine and norepinephrine, these hormones, as a part of their biological action, they are called as stress hormones or the fight and flight hormones. And these are the explanation when you're faced with a stressful condition, you suddenly perform to a very high level that you're not able to, like, after the whole thing, you'll not be able to understand how you were able to jump out of that building, or like save yourself from the fire. So it could be any type of stress response. So the increase in adrenaline in your body and your blood system causes a series of reactions, which starts from increase in the rate of respiration, that is breathing, increased blood flow to the skeletal muscles, your heart rate increases, your blood sugar levels increases, you get more glucose, you get more energy, the blood pressure in arteries increases, and your pupils dilate and your intestinal muscles will relax. So whatever muscles are not required will relax, and whatever muscles are required for your reflex response is activated. Okay, so this is a more detailed explanation. That is, you have a stress trigger, you start to breathe faster and deeper, and suddenly the liver starts to convert glycogen to glucose, and the glucose is released in the bloodstream, and you start to get energy, your heart rate increases and the blood pressure increases, the blood vessels of your skeletal muscles, heart and brain start to dilate, and also your skin and digestive system, they start to constrict, and the metabolic rate of cells in your brain and skeletal muscles increases. As a result, you have heightened awareness. You are very aware of your environment, of your body, of your whatever is surrounding you, and you're ready for a violent muscular activity. Okay, so that's why it's called as flight or fight hormone, and it can also be called as a fright or freeze hormone. So it can either be the condition where you get freezed, or you get frightened, or as a result you might flee away or run away from that environment, or you might even fight the environment, right? This is about the catecholamines in your hormonal system released by your adrenal medulla. Thank you.